Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Ayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So it's September 20th, 2025. And a little while ago, through correspondence, Martin Rosa requested that we read something from the fifth canto and the pastimes of Bharat Maharaj and Jad Bharat and Maharaj Rahugana, Hare Krishna, Anasuya, and
Hare Krishna.
Daniel George and Sarasvati. Hare Krishna. Welcome.
Hare Krishna.
So, so we're going to read Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 8, Text 9, because fairly recently, Bhakti Rosa's friend and companion in the dog body, Gwyn, it departed. And so, this pastime in the fifth canto with Bharat Maharaj and the deer and the three births. This is it's like a quintessential pastime related to pets and affection and like that. And so we'll read one verse here at Canto 5, Chapter 8, Text 9. I'm going to go into the translation. It's this much of the fifth canto, it's in prose rather than poetic meter. Like typically we'll get a poetic meter of 8 syllables, like Dinos bin yatadehe kumram yovanamja tatadeantara praptir dirasthatranmuyate, or 11 or 12 syllables, like Jayate Miyateva Kadachin Layam Budva Bhavi Tavana Buya Adunichim Shashvato Yam Purano Hanyate Hanyamanai Sharire, or 14 syllables, Chintamani Prakarasat Masukappa Vriksha, like that, or 19 syllables. There are different meters. And 19 syllables would be like the Sri Goswami Astakam Bande Rupasanatana Raguyuga Sri Jiva Gopalaka. Yeah. Never been musically inclined, but I am mathematically inclined. That's why I know the numbers. Okay. So like that. And so but this is in prose, so we're this is in prose, like a narrative, a ho batayam harina kunaka kripana. So I'm going to read the translation. Translation. The great king Maharaj Bharat began to think, alas, this helpless young deer, by the force of time, an agent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has now lost its relatives and friends and has taken shelter of me. It does not know anyone but me, as I have become its father, mother, brother, and relatives. This deer is thinking in this way, and it has full faith in me. It does not know anyone but me. Therefore, I should not be envious and think that for the deer, my own welfare will be destroyed. I should certainly raise, protect, gratify, and fondle it when it has taken shelter with me. How can I neglect it? Even though the deer is disturbing my spiritual life, I realize that a helpless person who has taken shelter cannot be neglected. That would be a great fault. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When a person is advanced in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, he naturally becomes very sympathetic toward all living entities suffering in the material world. Naturally, such an advanced person thinks of the suffering of the people in general. However, if one does not know of the material sufferings of fallen souls and becomes sympathetic because of bodily comforts, as in the case of Bharat Maharaj, such sympathy or compassion is the cause of one's downfall. If one is actually sympathetic to fallen suffering humanity, he should try to elevate people from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. As far as the Dhira was concerned, Bharat Maharaj became very sympathetic, but he forgot that it was impossible for him to elevate the Dhira to spiritual consciousness because, after all, the Dhira is but an animal. It was very dangerous for Bharat Maharaj to sacrifice all his regulative principles simply to take care of an animal. The principles enunciated in Bhagavad Gita should be followed. Yam hina vyatyantyete pusham pusharshava. That's Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 15. As far as the material body is concerned, we cannot do anything for anyone. I'll say that one again. I'll read it again. As far as the material body is concerned, we cannot do anything for anyone. However, by the grace of Krishna, we may raise a person to spiritual consciousness if we ourselves follow the rules and regulations. If we give up our own spiritual activities and simply become concerned with the bodily comforts of others, we will fall into a dangerous position. I'll read the last sentence again. If we give up our own spiritual activities and simply become concerned with the bodily comforts of others, we will fall into a dangerous position. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Svayamupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganavagnatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Garange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpati Vyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Vicharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Hare Krishna. This is fifth canto. I appreciate the opportunity to read it here. Because in our systematic reading, we're going exceptionally slow. In the third canto, 8th chapter, we started on first canto, first chapter, December 2010. Yes, a long time. We're steady, yeah. So we, and because often when we have programs, we choose to read something else. So I'm glad we're getting to read something from the fifth canto here in our discussions. And the fifth canto has a lot. The fifth canto, it's the cosmology, astronomy, cosmography canto chapters. Chapters 17 to 26 are all about that. The structure of the universe. Chapter 16, a description of Jambudvip, and then chapter 26 of the hellish planets, like that. And so here we have the teachings of Lord Rishabhadev in chapter 5 of the fifth canto. And so the character of Bharat Maharaj, he's the primary son, the eldest son of Maharaj Rishabhadev, and it describes 3 births. And as Bharat Maharaj, and then he was a great devotee, deep ecstasy in service to Krishna. And then he went to he gave up a lot. That's one thing people say, oh, we renounce, but he really had a lot to renounce. He was a young man in the prime, he was the king, he had control and money and attractiveness. He just went to the forest to meditate on Krishna. And he had a sadhana. And he had a sadhana. And then this is the midst where he becomes affectionate to a deer. And like the deer's mother was um, running from a hunter, and the deer's mother died, and the little calf took birth as the deer's mother was jumping across a stream. And then Maharaj, he found the deer. And then so then we have here, then he in his affection for the deer, he essentially he gave up his sadhana practice. So it says for a deer, it could be for family members or whatever. And so he gave up his practice. And then actually today in our Bhagavad Gita group, with several here in our Bhagavad Gita group, we're on eighth chapter. So a quintessential verse, 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Yam Yam Bhapi Smran Bhavam Tyajatyante Klevam Tam Tam Eviti Konte Sadatad Bhava Bhavita. That's the principle, that wherever the consciousness is absorbed at the time of leaving the body, and of course that absorption will, to a significant extent, be determined by where we absorbed in life. Wherever we're absorbed in our life, and it's going to come up at the time of death. When the senses are disturbed and there's pain in the body and everything, and we're losing everything, then whatever our attachment is, whatever our bhava is, that's going to come up. So Bharat Maharaj, he was absorbed in the deer. So then he took a deer's birth in that second birth. So it was a deer's birth. Same time, he also had a lot of Krishna consciousness in him. So it was a deer who was particularly attracted to go to the Vaishnava sages and get their prasadam and like that. And then in the next birth after that, he took birth as the son of a Vaishnava Brahmin. And Jad, like we can see his name was Jad Bharat. He became known as Jad Bharat. We can see like the English word jaded from Jad. So Jad Bharat, and this is described later in the 5th canto, we won't go into today. He was because he didn't want to risk getting entangled in material life. So he pretended he was a complete ignorant fool. He was retarded, mentally changed. He was playing that. Yeah, he was actually very sharply intelligent. There are things like, and his father was very sincere, so his father would, so like, okay, so you teach him just basic principles of cleanliness. So after you pass stool, then you wash your hands. So Jabrat, he would wash his hands, then pass stool. Said, no, you got it backwards, and just stuff like that. Okay, and then Jabrat, and he's being mocked and tormented by his own brothers and other the village folk. And then, at some point, Jabrat comes around Maharaj Rahugana, and that's a fantastic philosophical dialogue. Maharaj Rahugana is treating him like an idiot. And then at some point, Maharaj Rahugana realizes, oh, this is like an amazing sage. And then he becomes his student, and like that's quite a wonderful pastime. So Maharaj Bharat here, and with this his affection for the baby deer, So it's like, is Maharaj Bharat being arrogant or harsh or ignorant, those tamasic, demoniac qualities? No, these are good qualities. These are good qualities that he's showing. soft-hearted, compassionate, gentle, caring. And we say because he's getting into trouble here. And it's because I was getting into trouble because he's this harsh, ignorant, self-absorbed, envious person. Now, these are good qualities. It's reminiscent of Arjuna at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, which is it's kind of difficult to understand or in an ordinary sense, because we see as the Bhagavad Gita goes on to chapter 2, Krishna's not impressed with Arjuna's compassion. And if we look at Prabhupada's purports there, then because in one sense, Arjuna's compassion for family members and he doesn't want to kill. These are very gentle, they're sattvic qualities. At the same time, they're kind of founded on ignorance. And so Prabhupada is appreciating Arjuna's Vaishnav soft heart. And at the same time, there's some layers of ignorance here. So same here with Bharat Maharaj. So these are very good qualities, because sometimes in devotee circles, we can hear Bharat Maharaj is criticized. He's being sentimental and like that. So there's truth to that, but these are fine qualities. This isn't these aren't the qualities of the demons that Krishna describes in the 16th chapter, which is called the divine qualities. So these sattvic qualities, for me, this is maybe a key in this discussion. We want to cultivate them, and we want to cultivate them, and at the same time not make them the ultimate goal. So that's it. So Bharat Maharaj, he was again, he had his sadhana, and we can imagine chanting and maybe worshiping Shalagram Shila there like a deity worship and morning program, and he had his sadhana, and then that's then he's cultivating the transcendental qualities, the transcendental qualities, and then so sattva. These by definition, these are good qualities. We don't want to assume that, oh, I'm a transcendental devotee, so therefore that includes sattva. So that's the proverbial spiritual bypass. It's described in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Mamcha yo vyabhicharina bhakti yogin sevate sagunan samatipyetan brahma bhuyaya kapate, that one who's engaged steadily in devotional service without fail is transcendental to the modes of nature, even transcendental to material sattva. So this is philosophically true. It's also described in the Bhagavatam. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavat yakinchana sarver gunes tatra samasate saraharava bhakta sekruto mahadguna manoritena sati davato bahi. That a devotee automatically has all of the goodness of the demigods and all those wonderful qualities. So that's good and true and beautiful. And the problem could be if, when reading those verses, if I think that they apply to me, that becomes problematic. Oh, that's me, because I'm a devotee. I wear the neck beads, and I get up early sometimes, and so that must be me, transcendental sattva qualities. And then, being proudly convinced of that, then let's say if I'm showing intolerance and impatience and lack of cleanliness, and I'm showing hard-heartedness, and then and then maybe even friends try to point this out, but like, oh no, I'm a devotee, I have all the transcendental qualities. I thought you'd see that. All right, okay, so just like there's the analogy given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami. We have the gardening, water the plants, the flowers, and pull the weeds. And so a problem can be that something that's clearly a weed in my heart, well, I can see the weeds in your heart, and your heart, and your heart. I can see the weeds in your heart. But the weeds in my heart, I'll think they're pretty flowers. Think they're pretty flowers. And yeah, and so because we our false material ego means we have blind spots to our shortcomings. So so part of so we want to cultivate the qualities of sattva, samodamas, taposhocham, cleanliness, tolerance, empathy, um, sattvic speech. Sattvic speech, it's, we're not, Krishna describes in 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Anudvegam Kram Vakyam, Satyam Priyahinam Chayat Svadaya Bhyasanam Chaiva Vanmayam Tapo Uchyate. Sattvic speech, it's true, means we have the courage to be truthful, and simultaneously it's truly beneficial, and it's aligned with absolute truth, and it's aligned with the Vedic Siddhanta. That sattvic, and Krishna uses the term, it's an austerity of speech, and it's an austerity, because sometimes it can be a lot easier to like, well, I want to say something, but I don't want to risk, I don't want to risk rejection. I don't want to risk people not liking me, so I'll just go along. So an austerity, that's a verse from Bharat Maharaja's father, Rishabhadev. And he said, really, he said in his first instruction to his sons, Nayam dehu deha bhajam viloke kastan kamano ati bid bujam ye tapu divyam puchaki inasat from Shuddhyadyasma Brahma Sakyam Trinantam Tapu Divyam. Human life is meant to voluntarily do austerity to get that bliss that will never be crushed by time, ever increasing Shuddhyadyasma Brahma Sakyam Trinantam, that ever increasing spiritual bliss. Austerity, giving up an immediate comfort for some longer term profound benefit. So it can be comfortable to just go along to get along. And I want to belong to the club, like that. And then Krishna says, so truthful and also beneficial, because it can also be really easy to just blah, in the name of truth, here it is, in your face. See if you can handle it. I'm so honest. I want brownie points for so honest. But then, am I really coming from a caring place? So, like, see, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, like all the devotees possessed of truly sattvic qualities, just no withhold, no compromise, full truth, and in such a way where everyone gets they're really coming from a compassionate place. So we want to cultivate sattvic qualities in a spirit of bhakti. Not so in following Srila Prabhupada and Krishna in the process of Krishna consciousness, cultivating sattva. The example is given. The example is given. Just like, let's say, if I if I want to get to London, okay, I'll go to the Orlando airport. The Orlando airport, that's the base to get to London. The Orlando airport in the metaphor represents sattva. Let's say I get to the Orlando airport and I get so comfortable there. Got a nice book. There's pleasant people. And there's music playing, and I can get a smoothie over there. This is really nice. And then they make the calls. David Wolf, last call, the plane is boarding for London. And I don't get on the plane. Okay. So London represents the transcendental objective, Goloka Vrindavan, full transcendental consciousness. Vihaya Shahara Dasya Kamana Manasagira, Nikilas Vapyavastasu Jivan Mukta Sauchyate. So the transcendental planets, there's a geography and a consciousness. So it's not like we need to, after I die, I'll go to that we're absorbed in Bhagavatam. That's Goloka Vrindavan. And we can be completely liberated in this lifetime. And so in one sense, I'm no closer to London there at the Orlando airport than I was in my home in Alachua. So it's, yeah, so the airport's not important. It's useless. No, no, it's important. It's like, we want to go to the airport. Sattvagun, that's like the best platform to launch into transcendence. So we don't want to neglect that. We want to cultivate the sattvic qualities of speech, of listening, of of our relationship with money, our relationship with all the our relationship with how we seek happiness. There's happiness in the modes, and there's transcendental happiness, how we seek knowledge. Okay. And at the same time, to cultivate it with a spirit. My ultimate goal is London. And the Orlando airport's like the best place from which I can launch there. So we don't want to neglect sattva. Otherwise, things can become really messy, or even worse than messy, become really ugly. That, like, if we're thinking we're transcendental, and then we're doing all sorts of damage and causing all sorts of hurt, because of tamasic and rajasic qualities that we won't even look at because I'm so transcendental. So, and then yeah, and then yeah, and then to keep that transcendental objective at the forefront. And so Bhatt Maharaj, he's very sattvic qualities in relation, his affection for the deer, very praiseworthy. He's not like cruel to animals, just the opposite, like that. And he gave up his transcendental sadhana. And then he got entangled again in the cycle of birth and death. So and so the material world, it's designed to be very expert, to give us millions of reasons to give up our sadhana. That's what it's designed for. It's designed for, and it could be like, here's a terrible catastrophe crisis, or it could be like, oh, look at the cute kitty. Let's do 3 hours and scroll and look at cute kitties. Okay. So it could take so many forms, or just our our laziness, or all the yeah, no, the commitment to chant rounds. I'll make them up tomorrow. Okay. Oh, I'm behind 4,025 rounds. I think later in life, maybe there'll be a chance. Yeah. So it requires, right. So it's not about Bharat Mirage. He should have been hard-hearted to the deer calf. No, sattvic qualities. And so it requires like standing strong. Because here's the thing, like, because yeah, Prahlad Maharaj, he says a Vaishnav heart is paradukkha dukhi, feeling someone else's pain as our own. Like deep empathy. That's Vaishnav heart. So it's not about callous to family members, or it's deep compassion and empathy, profound, integrated with knowledge of how to actually help. And Prabhupada emphasizes that here. If we give up our own spiritual activities and simply become concerned with the bodily comforts of others, we will fall into a dangerous position. So Prahlad Maharaj, yeah, Paradukkha Dukhi, and there's a lecture from Srila Prabhupada I've sometimes referred to in classes. Prabhupada quotes Prahlad Maharaj saying Paradukkha Dukhi, quotes Prahlad Maharaj, Naivod Vijay Bharadarat Yaya Vaitaranyas Maya Sukhaya Paramud Bahato Vimu Kan. So Prahlad Maharaj, the material happiness, it's the illusion of happiness. It's always chasing the carrot on the stick. And Prahlad Maharaj's mood is like, people are suffering. He says to Lord Nrsingadev, I don't want to be liberated till everyone's liberated. he has compassion for everyone's suffering. And that's the Vaishnav mood. And then Prahlad, but it's not sentimental. It's not sentimental if we deconstruct the word. It means based on the senses and the mind. The senses and the mind. But it's based on knowledge. Oh, I mean, the foundation of knowledge is the knowledge that this little cute deer baby is not the body. The body is dead matter. The ultimate knowledge is not the ultimate, but the foundational, when we talk about spiritual knowledge, is that we're all spirit soul. And the body, in a sense, is already dead. The body's already dead. And then when the soul leaves, then the body won't even appear to be alive. So actual welfare work, para upakara, actual welfare work, that's serving the soul to become Atma Rama, to become so infused with spiritual knowledge, with Krishna consciousness, that the soul won't be forced in this embarrassing, humiliating condition of being forced to take another material body, samsara dava nalalita loka, samsara, birth, death, old age, disease. So that's compassion with knowledge. That's compassion with knowledge. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj had, and that in this part of the pastime, that's what Maharaj Bharat was lacking. Yeah, compassion, and with knowledge of how to actually help pull out the root of suffering. Tapo Trayon Mulanam. That's the very beginning of Bhagavatam describes Dharma Pojita Kortvatra Parmoni Matsaranam Satam Vejam Astavan Ajavastu Shividam Tapo Trayon Mulanam. It uproots all the suffering. That's the knowledge. That's an experienced knowledge. Also philosophical knowledge that Bhagavatam is giving. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Projita Janayat Yashvairagam Ganam Chayat Ahetukam. So by serving Krishna, Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, then automatically knowledge and detachment from matter arise. And similarly, like we said about cultivating sattvic qualities, still we say, well, we just serve, we don't need to study books. No, we study Srila Prabhupada's books, which in themselves are, every line in Srila Prabhupada's books reveals truth and is non-different from the truth it reveals. So apart from what we get intellectually and philosophically, our heart is purified. Our heart is purified by exposing ourselves to the vibration. So yes, we cultivate knowledge, not in a spirit of gyan or jnana yoga. We cultivate knowledge in a spirit of bhakti. Because there are some approaches to bhakti that say, oh no, that's gyan, to like study philosophy. No, our tradition is relentlessly, profoundly literate and philosophical, and simultaneously fully devotional and emotional, simultaneously integrated, head and heart. So we cultivate sattvic qualities, including jnanam vijnanam astikam, including the philosophical knowledge, in a spirit of bhakti from an authorized source. And so to the extent that we stand strong in our daily sadhana, then we're able to actually be compassionate. Then we're able to actually make a difference and actually help. And to the extent that we're not strong in our daily sadhana, then we're going to be more and more bewildered and in ignorance and in maya. And then in the name of helping, it'll just be sentimental. Like if our helping is in sattva, but not transcendence, we might be doing some good. If our helping, our welfare work, our compassion is manifested and it's in any way tinged with rajas and tamas, we're probably going to be doing more harm than good, more harm than good. I'm like, oh, this, um, oh, this person, he needs it. Okay, yeah, yeah. I'll buy him a pack of cigarettes. I'm such a good person. Okay, like that. So it's going to be doing more harm than good. If it's sattvic, some good, but then actual good. Watering the root of the tree, Tataro Mulani Shechanena. Okay, that's Shuddha Sattva. And so and so we cultivate realization of how to do actual good. We cultivate realization of how to do actual good through cultivating ourselves to the extent that we're realized in spiritual knowledge, the difference between the soul and the body, the distinction between the soul and the supersoul, the relationship between the soul and the supersoul, understanding who is Krishna, what's Krishna's relationship with supersoul, what's Krishna's relationship with the material energy, all these powerful distinctions. And the thing about Maya, like I go, okay, well, I'll be okay, I can be a little negligent with sadhana because this and that, because there's a cute deer or whatever. Let me, I can slide a bit. The thing with Maya is like, when I'm, covered by illusion, I don't think I am. When I'm in my, oh no, no, I'm seeing things clearly. That it's like that's the slippery slope that Maya's got us, and through the Avaranatmika Shakti, the covering potency, and then we're more and more in illusion and thinking we're more and more enlightened. And that's Maya's tricks. And so Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita, Deviya Shakuna Maya Mama Yaya Mama Maya Dhiratyaya Mama Gaya Prabhajante Maya Metam Taranti Te, that they uh that the Maya is like, it's, give it up. It's impossible to overcome. You got no chance. Now we're actually superior. We're actually superior to the material energy. At the same time, the metaphor is there, like a big ship on the ocean. If its engines are turned off, a little tugboat can drag it around the ocean. Engines turned off means we're not alive in self-realization, and we're not tivrena bhakti yogena yate tapusham. We're not intensely engaged in devotional service. When we're intensely engaged in devotional service, whatever our material desires, just intensely. Tivrena means like a sun ray gets magnified through a magnifying glass, and it can burn things with intensity. Then Maya can't touch us. Then Maya can't touch us. And so when we're intensely engaged, okay, then Krishna says, then you can easily come to me. You serve me. You serve me through my pure devotee. Mm. And so so this is about, we want to appreciate Bharat Maharaj's his compassion, his gentleness, his soft heartedness, his care for helpless creatures, all very wonderful. And then a lesson is here, and he gave up his transcendental sadhana, and then he got all bewildered and confused. Of course, everything comes up in wonderful ways through the three lifetimes. I know I'm reminded here of my, well, actually the departure of both my mother and father. And I know some of you have heard this, but for me it was so I've heard my story. 2012 with Sita and chanting Hare Krishna with my dad, and similarly in 2010 I was there with my mother and chanting, and she said the chanting sounds like Yiddish and like that. So for me it was because, okay, it's like affection, caring for mom and dad, and of course, our relationship became a lot closer and more affectionate when it was starting with the kidnapping, back more than a quarter century earlier. But for me, it's like I just felt very fortunate that I kind of, through Srila Prabhupada's grace, I knew what to do there, and Sita knew what to do there, and Sita knew what to do there, and So for me, it's just like an example of my life where, sure, compassion, affection, informed by, infused by knowledge of what does death actually mean. I was referring to that when my early in the year 2012, in at Abramson House outside of Philadelphia. Sita and I were there as my father passed away, and we were intensely chanting Hare Krishna. So in one sense, it was like sad, but mostly it was just like it was like a samskar, blissful experience, you know. So then, you know, I'm just so grateful to Srila Prabhupada to give me like knowledge of actually, you know, other than you can lament and you can talk about, yeah, and he used to take me on hikes, and that's nice. I mean, it's nice with an actual knowledge how to help, how to serve at this most crucial juncture of life called death. So I've spoken for a bit about this pastime of Maharaj Bharat and the deer. This we read a verse inspired by Bhakti Rosa and the passing away of Gwyn. This verse is right in the midst of where Bharat Maharaj, he's falling into illusion through his sattvic affection for the deer. Hare Krishna, thanks for listening. I welcome at this time if anyone has any questions or comments or realizations. Nittaya.
Thank you. What I got from you was that, you know, his main mistake was, Bharat Maharaj's mistake was that he gave up his practice,
Yeah.
spiritual practice. You know, but I just have so many things that come to mind on this topic. Like there's that sentence that Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that you read twice, we can't do anything for anybody's body.
Yeah.
You know, but it's interesting, you know, like we can interpret it in so many ways.
Yes.
But we can see that Prabhupada did say different things or did different things.
Mhm.
So like we could understand that should never do ever anything for anybody's bodies.
Yeah,
People
right.
come hungry, it's like, sorry, you're not your body. But
Okay.
you know, we see like Prabhupada cried when he saw people hungry.
Yeah,
And he said, give them prasadam, nobody should go hungry.
Yeah.
So we can see it's like we can take it into extremes, but it's not about the extreme. It's about, at least in my understanding,
Yeah.
what I'm getting from all of it. You don't give up your spiritual practice.
Mhm.
Then also Prabhupada said his Bharat Maharaj's mistake or pitfall or whatever you want to call it is that he was alone. He was outside of the association of devotees. Like if he was in the association of Vaishnavas, he would not have gone that extremes. Like that's what keeps us safe.
Yeah.
Like Vaishnavas give us their feedback. Like you said, sometimes we don't know if we're in illusion. But
Yeah,
that's what the association is for.
Association is for, yes.
So that was one mistake. But you know, I mean, just the point of like not doing anything for anybody's body. Like we know Bhagavad Gita also says like there's charity in different modes of nature.
Yes.
And we know Bhaktisiddhanta said there were some instance where some brahmacharis were with him and they neglected to give a donation to the beggars, and he said you're going to become hard-hearted. So you know how to balance it all out. Like you don't give it to undeserving person, you don't give it, you know, to improper person in improper place. But if somebody is genuinely in need, you do not give.
Yes.
Like even there's a verse about charity, like charity and sacrifice is never to be
Should never be given up.
So like if we have the means and there's a deserving person and person is in need, it's not like we don't give, but we don't go into an extreme where we give up our practice, where we help the person in a way that's entangling for them. Like, you know, we give prasadam, we give whatever. But to me, it seems like, you know, because there's that point, like Prabhupada said, if somebody's in extreme poverty, they can't take to spiritual life. So you see somebody's like diseased or hungry. It's not like we don't care.
If they're suffering too much.
And you have the means to help them. That's what I feel like we do have to balance these out, because sometimes we take one thing and we're like, oh, this is what it means. And Prabhupada said, so I can't help anybody. But it's like there is a At least my understanding is Prabhupada did say different things in different circumstances, and we have to understand in a very balanced way.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is about detachment.
Detachment, yeah.
Because Prabhupada said, like, bhakti is not the path of detachment.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean we can be overly attached, of course, but it's like we have to purify attachment. We can't artificially try to give it up, because that's the nature of the soul. That's the path of impersonalism, is the path of detachment, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I can't be detached with this and I can't be, but then we know the nature of bhakti,
Yes.
personal relationships, spiritual world. So we can't give up our affection artificially, because then again we become like, so we have to purify it, and we have to be attached to the spirit and not to the body, right?
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, because I feel like, if we take the lesson like, oh, Bharat Maharaj should not have helped the deer, I feel like what he did was okay. He saved the deer in that extreme situation, but where he made a mistake was that then he became so attached to it that the deer took over his home and he gave up his spiritual practice. That's what the mistake was. I feel like, if he had kept his spiritual practice and just did the necessary and the minimum, but not got entangled, that's a different story. So there's a balance. Like, how do you see your animal? If you see it as a soul, then there's no entanglement, but we become so overly attached, then.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate all parts of your sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. It's Prabhupada's not saying we shouldn't do anything to help people's bodies. He just said, I'm reminded of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's statement, the world stands in no need of any reform. Everything goes on in its own perfect way, facilitated by the supreme facilitator. So it's like whatever is happening, including the terrible things in the world, the supreme facilitator, Krishna in the form of Supersoul, is facilitating everything perfectly for everyone's self-realization and ultimate joy. All right, so the world stands in no need of any reformer. That doesn't mean, okay, I'll just go to sleep for 10 hours then. No, because then the question, well, what's my service? And my service might be to be in the Bhagavatam class. My service might be to distribute prasadam. My service might be to advocate for some good cause. Always cultivating the mood that it's not like the world needs a reformer. Ultimately, the world does need Krishna consciousness. So, sure, we take care of our pets, and that emphasizes cultivating their maybe they hear Hare Krishna, maybe they take prasad, and they're associating with devotees. I appreciate, like I mentioned about aspects of communication in the different modes, and then you mentioned, so similarly with food, right? That's described extensively. There's food in ignorance, passion, and goodness, and if someone's vegetarian, that's basically the sattvic diet. But so we want to cultivate goodness, and ultimately, but even that, the vegetarian diet, there's violence there. Sometimes people say that we're not vegetarian, we're not promoting vegetarianism, we're prasadarians, and so the transcendence includes the goodness in all fields. I remember some of you are aware of this, but in 2016, I went with Parampara Prabhu. He was Bhakta Patrick at the time, and we were invited to Bangalore. And the management at Bangalore arranged for us to conduct 3 consecutive Sappho foundational seminars, one after the other. It's quite an adventure. And the second seminar, it was about 40 in the course, and they were pretty much all top managers of an organization called Akshaya Patra. And now I think they distribute 3 million plates of prasadam per day as school lunches to children in India. And the statistics I heard is that if Akshaya Patra didn't do what they did, then looks like something like 2,000 children in India per day die due to malnutrition. And if Akshaya Patra did not do what they did, it would be 5,000 per day. So they're, let's say, on the material platform, they're helping the country so much. And it's not just the food, because then the children get educated, because if the family doesn't have funds, the child's not going to go to school. They'll just send the child out to make money in some way. So they're doing so much good, and it's with the one in front of the string of zeros. It's with it's with Krishna in the center. So yeah, I'm remembering in hearing your sharing Nitai Leela. There was one of Srila Prabhupada heard, he saw a newspaper article about it. It was in Australia, and apparently, like in a house right next to where the devotees' temple was in one of the cities in Australia, there was a fire, like a family house, and apparently no one else could. But the devotees went in. The devotees went in and rescued like the children and like that. So the devotees were heroes. And Srila Prabhupada was so appreciative of that. Look, they have such compassion, and like others were too scared to go in. And so it wasn't like, oh, you rescued them, but that's material. They're meat eaters. Or it wasn't. No, Prabhupada was just so appreciative that, yeah, these are devotional. You're ready to be heroic and courageous and truly help people. So
And people entrust in the devotees
and then,
anyway.
yeah.
They respect them, and then
Yeah.
that makes them want to take spiritual life. I think that's the case over in India with all these
Mhm.
people gain respect towards ISKCON and
Yeah. So yeah, on material emotional platform, we devotional life moves us to take action, to make a difference, and while putting Krishna in the center, while cultivating Krishna consciousness, so that our efforts to make a difference, that they're making a difference in a timeless way, also the temporary way. Thanks for your share. Bhaktin Rosa.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I read this chapter, and some things I interpreted, right, through it. For example, there's a portion where it's describing deer's interaction with Maharaj, and that the deer becomes kind of angry with him when he's doing his sadhana and tries to get his attention and this sort of thing.
This was a movie with like people actors, or was puppets?
No, this in this chapter.
Oh, this chapter, gotcha.
Yeah.
You read the chapter, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I directly tie that to, I think it was on Radhastami, we were reading about like the nature of love and how love can be angry and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I understand the deer is loving towards him. And as it's describing the development of this relationship, it's simultaneously describing his downfall
Yeah.
as his sadhana wanes, right?
Yes.
So anyway, again, in my interpretation, I'm seeing, well, he's kind of enjoying the attention of the deer, right?
Sure.
So it's described in the verse that he's feigning meditation
Right.
just to kind of get the deer to interact with him in that
Yeah.
way. It reminds me of how Krishna can like kind of play with the gopis to like make them angry, right? To kind of garner that reaction. Anyway. And then as it goes, and he's in the purports, it says, he's further kind of like losing his mind. He, in my interpretation, he's worshiping this deer like God. You're like, oh, my prince, where are you? And like this kind of thing. He's just
Quite bewildered.
Yeah, exactly. So And I really appreciated Nita Lila, how you mentioned the loss of association, because there's many places where it talks about renunciation and going to the forest, but the sadhana is so important because within sadhana you have the association of God. And by not having a sadhana, he had no association anymore.
Yeah.
Because he lost
And
that.
by not having the sadhus, he didn't have that, like
Yeah.
somebody to correct him when he went off. And when he off to point it out, because Maya is strong, like Prabhu said. So because Maya is so strong, it's very hard for us to see when we're illusions. That's why we need sadhus to kind of keep us on track.
Yeah, the accountability. So anyway, that was my only point just now, is the kind of how it ties into other relationships I've seen. But what I get from this is that there's a sense gratification involved, and like he was enjoying aspects of the relationship where he was like admired by this other.
He was getting adoration.
Exactly.
He was being adored.
And I think attachment to that situation then created his adoration of the relationship that just like made him go downhill, right?
We will adore people who adore us.
Mhm.
Whether people in the form of a dog, a cat, a deer, or a human being, or a family member.
And so he was obsessed.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Yeah, thanks for that, Bhakti Rosa, because the very good qualities here, very good qualities. Same time, it's because material sattva, there's some sense gratification. It's not gross like in the modes of rajas and tamas, but there's sense gratification. We get some distinction. So I'm special. Because like some people are, like, I need to be needed. Oh, and this entity, this poor animal, they need me, and then there's a gratification there. I'm God for them. There's a gratification there. Thanks for that. Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions or sharing?
I can continue. So with that last point, I can kind of see how I don't know how to say this well. I feel like it won't go over well, but I kind of see how we've been conditioned to have pets, and that egoic situation that's going on there, we have control, and they're like locked in our homes, but they adore us. Like it's been normalized, and it can be a perverted relationship in that way, and it's normalized to the point where it's no different than, yeah, the corner store, I can go get cigarettes and alcohol, so it's totally fine, right? Because like everybody does it, so what's the problem? And that's what I'm kind of seeing with like our ownership of animals. More often than not, it's a perverted sense of control and a source of sense gratification for adoration. And one of the things that it says there is how can I to neglect something that's taking shelter of me would be a fault.
Yeah. It's taken shelter of me. It does not know anyone but me, as I have become its father, mother, brother, and relative. The deer is thinking in this way, and it has full faith in me. It does not know anyone but me. Therefore, I should not be envious and think that for the deer, my own welfare will be destroyed. When it has taken shelter with me, how can I neglect it? Even though the deer is disturbing my spiritual life, I realize that a helpless person who has taken shelter cannot be neglected. That would be a great fall.
And then another part too is it says something because it's just an animal, we can't help it.
It's helpless. Yeah.
With its transcendence because it's an animal. It's not in the mechanism for anyway. But animals are so caught up in the birth, death.
They're completely convinced they're the body.
Exactly.
And then the dog's thinking it's a dog, the deer thinking it's a deer.
And we get caught up in it, right?
Yeah.
Because I know from owning animals, like they're lamenting all the time. Like, I want more food, I want this, I want that. And we like get really caught up in that, in their consciousness, and trying to not neglect them because they're lamenting their bodily condition the whole time. And I got a sense in animal ownership where I felt negligent all the time, right? Like I go to work, I do the things that I have to do, but if it were for them, like I would be completely with them, serving them all the time. And so it feels neglectful all the time.
If
Anyway, my point is that I can see how it's very easy to get obsessed, and I don't know how possible it is to have animals and not be negligent if everything for them is about their bodily condition. So I'm a little curious about that.
what do you mean to not be negligent?
There's arguable negligence of like just poor treatment, right? Like that anybody could see as negligence. But then there's the feelings of, for example, while he's doing his meditation, the deer wants his attention, right?
Well, the material life in whatever body means we're never satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're never satisfied.
And so they're never satisfied. And it's very easy to feel like you're negligent the whole time.
Yeah, whether it's a person or an animal, material consciousness, and there's always lamentation and hankering and fury.
Mm.
You know, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And even if it's describing the core one there, that's the defending or the fearing. No. Eating or sleeping, we can sometimes feel satisfied. Same with sex life. Like, oh, I'm satisfied. Okay, and then a few hours later, we're not satisfied. But fearing's always there. Fearing's constant in material consciousness. Bayam diktiya binivesha tasya. To the extent we're Krishna conscious, then we're fearless. You know, Srila Prabhupada, his father and mother gave him the name Abhay Charanaravinam. Fearless like the lotus feet of Krishna. Okay, full realization of a spirit soul, a servant of Krishna, that's fearless. But even if all the other needs are satisfied, oh, but someone's going to take it away. Okay, whatever. Yeah, someone's going to take it away. But someone's going to take my money, even though I finally got the. Oh, but I'm feeling. But there's a storm. Oh, my roof is my roof. And what about the insurance policy? So fearing is always there, and to the extent that that's where we are. Do we padapashu? Then we're two-legged animals. That's what I mean. We're two-legged. So the animals, we can see. Let's say, we can be poetic about fly like a bird. The bird is peaceful and free. I mean, that's be a nice poetic metaphor. But if we look at a bird, it's like always scared, always scared. Even it did not get the worm. I'm hungry. It got the worm, but someone's going to attack. Oh, there's a cat. There's a cat that's going to attack me. So that's animal life, always fearful. Mm-hmm. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna.